Welcome, everyone, to the 9th Annual Wild Wisconsin Winter Web Conference. I'm Leah Langby with the IFLS Library System, and I'm moderating the Public Services track today. Assisting me is Joy Schwartz with the Winnifox Library System. We're really glad to have you here. Our presenter for this session is Laura Metzler with the Cecil County Public Library in Maryland. And she will be discussing how libraries can connect and empower entrepreneurs in your community. So Laura, whenever you're ready, I'm going to start recording and you can begin.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm just trying to change slides here. There we go. Sorry, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm very excited to be presenting today. I have been in full-on virtual school with my 3 children, so this is a really nice break. And I just wanted to kind of start by telling you a little bit about myself. So I have been doing this job as a business librarian for about 13 years. I work in Cecil County, Maryland, and just to kind of give you an idea of what our county is like, it's about an hour from Philadelphia and an hour from Baltimore. So we're in between 2 major cities, but we're actually a pretty rural community, and we serve about 100,000 people in our county. So I also wanted to recognize that not every library system probably has a full-time business librarian. So I planned this presentation with that in mind. And I wanted to create practical ways that you could help entrepreneurs in your community. So I came up with 4 ideas that you might be able to use, and it might make sense to try 1 or maybe perhaps try all 4. I also wanted to acknowledge that some of this is a bit more difficult in our current environment that's being impacted by COVID. So some of this, obviously, that I'm going to speak on today probably cannot be achieved until we are back to being open and fully staffed and functioning in a pre-COVID manner. But perhaps some of it could be goals set, maybe I want to achieve this in the fall or something like that, and it could be worked on until then. But I did want to kind of acknowledge that. And I'm going to talk throughout about how we shifted some of these things during COVID. So perhaps they could still be done now, but I just kind of wanted to acknowledge that in the discussion. So I titled this slide, Breaking the Mold. It doesn't work to sit at the reference desk and wait for an aspiring entrepreneur or small business owner to come to the desk, right? It requires action to get them connected to the library. And if you really think about it, libraries are uniquely poised to help small business owners succeed. It can be really overwhelming to Google something as general as how to start a business. You're going to come up with thousands of results, and it'll be kind of unclear what you should click. And on top of that, depending on what type of business you want to start, each industry has different regulations and requirements. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all. So it's just really overwhelming for people. It's also intimidating to potentially reach out to your Office of Economic Development or your Chamber of Commerce. If you're new to this idea, maybe you just, you have this idea, you want to create a craft and sell it, or you want, you're really great at, you want to try to start a cleaning business and that part of the business, how to make the craft, how to clean a house, but you don't know the business aspect. You don't know what questions to ask. Then it can be really intimidating. But on the other hand, you have the library, which is a welcoming, safe, comfortable place to come and ask questions. So it's almost like it's perfectly suited for these early stage nascent entrepreneurs to ask questions that they may be afraid to ask others, or to learn what questions they need to be asking in general. And because we're kind of breaking that mold of traditional library service, and because it's not, I think it's fair to say it's not necessarily intuitive for business owners to come to the library for their information seeking needs. It's our job as librarians to reach out to them and tell them how we can meet their needs. Before I jump into the 4 tangible things you could do to reach out to entrepreneurs in your community, I wanted to kind of give you an overview of our business center at the library and kind of what we do to help entrepreneurs. So we have 1 full-time and 1 part-time employee working at we call it the BIC, the BIC. And at the top right, I'm on the right and Ellie is on the left. And basically we meet clients, we call them clients, patrons, we meet by appointment. We offer if say we're in a perfect world with no COVID, if somebody walked in and wanted to meet with us, we obviously would, but it works much better by appointment for us. So right now we're doing Zoom appointments, but if you schedule it by appointment, we can prepare ahead of time and we can kind of ask questions, find out where you are in the process of starting a business and better tailor the meeting for you. We might discuss the steps in forming a business, what forms to fill out. We might define different legal structures for you. A lot of people ask us, should I be a sole proprietorship or an LLC? And we'll say, well, let's discuss, let's define LLC, let's define sole proprietorship. And hopefully with a better understanding of the differences, you can make a better informed decision for yourself. We let people know if they need a business license and what that process looks like. An EIN number, an employer identification number. We also teach business plan writing. So probably at your library system, you frequently help people with resumes. So I would describe how we help with business plan writing, similar to how you might help someone with a resume. We use demographics now frequently with patrons. We also use reference solutions, which they just changed their name. They used to be Reference USA. Not sure why they did that, but we use the Gale Business Plan Builder. That's our newest database that we use, and I'll go into this a little bit more later. And then we have Linda courses and Gale courses that we refer clients to. Another important thing that we do is connect each patron with the local business partners in our community. And I think that is really key. Again, I talked about how people sometimes are nervous or uncomfortable contacting the chambers of commerce or the economic development office, but there's that level of comfort with talking to a librarian, which is, I think, why this job can be so important. Because if I can, share, oh, you should contact this person, this specific person's name at the economic development office, I will let them know that you will be reaching out to them. It kind of opens that door for them to not be as intimidated. And then we also provide, this is kind of new, but we also provide assistance with social media and email marketing. So this isn't that we do their social media. This is more like we explain to them the different applications and what audiences are on each application so they can kind of better spend their time appropriately in terms of like, oh, I should create a Facebook group, or no, my audience isn't on Facebook. They're more on Twitter or something like that. So it's more of an explanation of the different applications. And we have found that people are really interested in that, and that's been really helpful to them. So I just want to kind of discuss the 4 big picture ideas I want to share with you here, and then I'll break into each one of these in more detail. So number 1 would be creating materials beneficial to the business community. Number 2 is promoting library resources to the business community, and then target programming to the business community and developing strategic partnerships within the business community. So let's start with creating materials. So a lot of people I see have this idea of a business they want to start, and that's really all they have, right? They have, they may not even know how to take the first step into making this dream of being their own boss a reality. They probably don't have the money to spend on a business advisor, and they kind of know they know what they want to do, but they just don't know how to get it done. So there's no organization that I'm aware of that has the resources that we have and the knowledge that we have, and the willingness to help these entrepreneurs for free. I mean, I think that's really what makes us unique and why the library is so perfectly poised to help these nascent early stage entrepreneurs. It's just kind of simplifying this overwhelming process for them. And so if I were to do just one thing of everything I'm going to share with you today, I think this would be it: creating this roadmap brochure. So I'm going to, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to have my email address listed. And if any of you want this brochure emailed to you and you can kind of use it to mold it for your community, I'd be happy to share it with you. I just wanted to make sure I said that. So basically what this roadmap does is it allows, if you're at the reference desk and someone comes up and says, I'm interested in starting a business, right? Instead of simply walking over to the business books, which is still helpful, but you're handing them a tailored community resource, right? with the exact steps they need to start the business, along with the contact information for the organizations that they need to reach. And although this can all be found online, right? Like I said earlier, it's just so overwhelming online. And so we're kind of tailoring it to the exact resources that they need. And people have found this so useful. It answers a lot of the questions patrons have. And many of our staff, understandably so, are a little, I'm trying to think of how to say this, maybe intimidated by a patron walking up and saying, you know, I have a business question. And I get it, because if I'm working the reference desk and someone comes up and says, you know, can you recommend, you know, a great YA read? I don't really read a lot of YA stuff, so it can be intimidating. And I just want to find the YA librarian and say, hey, you know, let's talk to her. She'll be great and give you a great book. But the reality is I should be ready and willing to help this patron. So if you can pull out this brochure and hand it to them, it's this excellent resource that they can then use, and it also markets the BIC in it so that they can then call us or email us with questions. So I will say, and I'm going to go through the brochure a little bit in a second, but the one downside I see to this brochure, or that you just need to be aware of, is it has lots of links. So it does have to be updated quite frequently. You know, there's nothing worse than getting a brochure. I mean, we've all been there with a dead link or, you know, something like that. If the phone number's wrong, it sort of discredits the whole thing. So you have to really be cautious and, you know, of updating it, but I think it's definitely worth it. We also digitized our copy to live on our website with links to all of these resources. So, you know, I think that's a key part too, especially during COVID. We used to, you know, meet with clients and hand this to them and walk through each step with them. We obviously can't do that, but we can open the link on our website and walk them through it that way. And it's also really important that this document doesn't just live at the library. We have it at the Workforce Center. We have it at the Office of Economic Development. We have it at the chamber, the county chamber, and the different city chambers, and the Small Business Development Center counselor hands it out. So, you know, I think it's just really important. It's a great marketing tool for the library. It lets organizations know the work we're doing and the type of assistance we are providing. So it's kind of a great advocacy tool as well. I will say when elected officials see this document, they're always impressed, and they kind of get maybe where the library plays a part in economic development. So let me just go through it real quick. On one side, we have a Q&A. These are basically common questions that Ellie and I both get from small business owners or, you know, entrepreneurs. How do I write my business plan? And as you can see, the first thing highlighted is the individual consultations with the business librarian, where we would then share with them how to do the research to make this powerful, great plan to get that loan at the bank. We walk them through, you know, does my business need insurance? What are my options for funding? How do I protect my intellectual property? What if I need to hire employees? And where can I find local business resources? So some of it is sort of county specific, state specific, some of it's more federal. But the idea is that we're trying to give them this roadmap and make the process simplified for them. And it's just like any reference interview in the sense that we're offering information, not advice. So, you know, it's not something that you need an MBA to do. You're literally listening to their questions just like you would anything, and then trying to find the answers to them for them. And then here's we call it the pit stops, just kind of keeping with that roadmap theme. This is kind of the process we walk through with people. We sit down and say, okay, developing your business concept. You know, number one, let's schedule an appointment and meet. Number two, we will talk about your legal structure, registering your business. If you need licenses, permits, whether you need an EIN number, or, you know, do you need to contact certain regulatory agencies? And it just kind of helps them check all the boxes. So we find this really, really helpful. And again, I'm willing to share this document with anyone who would like it. We've had a couple versions of this. We used to call one brochure the key steps to starting a business, and it kind of had keys as all the numbers here. So there's different ways you can do it, but the idea is that you create this really useful document for business owners, or for future business owners, I should say. Okay, so the next thing is promoting library resources to the business community. So I alluded to this earlier. You know, it's not, I think we can all agree, it's not necessarily intuitive for entrepreneurs to think, I want to start a business. I'm going to go right to the library. So it's our job to promote our services to that community. You know, we cannot assume that business owners and the business community in general know to come to the library. So if we don't promote, they won't know, and that's the bottom line. They're not going to come. So I think even during COVID, it's been even more vital that we're promoting our digital resources and our Zoom appointments, because I think more than ever, the community needs to know that just because our doors are closed, we're still here. You know, our businesses, our existing businesses, especially in you know, April and May, they had more questions than ever. And it was really daunting, you know, how to get those loans, how does my business survive this? And so it was really important that we were there, letting them know, you know, we're still here. Our doors are closed, but we're still here and able to help. So that leads to what to promote to the business community. So again, some of these things that your library system may have, and some they may not have, but these are the things that we have found useful to promote. You know, I already mentioned our one-on-one client appointments that are now virtual. I think people really like the idea of sitting down and getting their specific questions answered in a private kind of consultation room, I guess you could call it. A lot of entrepreneurs don't want to share their ideas, so that's kind of been really important for them to have that. We definitely highlight our roadmap brochure that I just showed you. I think one thing we found really useful, so obviously we all know what our databases do, but you know, telling someone, make sure you use Reference USA, it's kind of like, they're not going to get it, right? Nobody knows what Reference USA by the name actually does. So instead of promoting the specific database, we might promote something like saying, you know, are you interested in finding out who your competitors really are and how well they're doing? Do you need to find potential collaborators in the community? You know, we'll click this link and we can show you how, something like that, you know, or try our new database, or not our new database, try our database Reference USA, or I'm sorry, I said it wrong again, Reference Solutions, they just changed their name again. But so you're kind of trying to make it really tangible for the entrepreneur. You know, what are they going to get out of it? Their time maybe is short. If you just say, you know, check out our business database Reference USA, it's not really that intuitive, so they might kind of ignore that. But if you tell them, hey, do you want to see how your competitor down the street's doing? All of a sudden, you know, they might be more interested. We also have Gale courses and Linda courses. I think they're going to be called LinkedIn Learning courses soon. But we list popular business courses and promote the actual courses names instead of just saying, check out our business courses on Linda. I find that is kind of seems to do better. We get a better click rate, if that makes sense, when we say, you know, did you know you can get a free intro to QuickBooks course? You know, are you wanting to understand cash flow better? Take this course. You know, new to writing business plans and need some assistance, try this 6-week course on Gale, how to write a business plan. That kind of thing seems to work better. In terms of print material, we have the NOLO series and the Entrepreneur series of books that I really like, and we heavily promote those. I think people like the general guides to starting a business, but they much prefer if you can find really specific guides, like how to start a mobile food vendor business, or how to start an Etsy business, how to start an import-export business. I think if they can identify better with the title, they're more likely to check it out, and it might feel like it's more for them. Those books are a little harder to find, but we you know, I've just found people are more interested in that if it can be something they identify with more. We use demographics now with every client meeting, and so finding demographic projections, you know, patrons seem to find this site a little bit easier to use than the census site, and the census site can be overwhelming. Even, I mean, I feel like it can be overwhelming for me But Demographics Now is a little bit easier to use. I had somebody wanting to start like a pet boarding business, and we could look at Demographics Now and find out how many people in a certain zip code, what percentage had dogs, what percentage had cats, how much money they were spending on their animals, that sort of thing, and what they're projected to spend. So you can get really specific with Demographics Now. So kind of trying to market that and promote that instead of just check out our business databases, I think is much more useful to the community. We recently purchased, well, I guess it's a couple of years now, Gale Business Plan Builder. And this is great for nonprofits too. We've promoted this heavily to the nonprofit community. But that really, some people are really intimidated by staring at a blank Word document and knowing that they have to, turn into a bank a 30-page business plan. It can just be really intimidating. So the Gale Business Plan Builder kind of breaks it down into sections, and it tells you what goes into each section of the business plan, gives you examples, and then you can also, when you're finished with each section, you can download it into a document like a PDF. So I feel like for some people it works really well. For people that are more that aren't as computer literate, it can be a little challenging because you're learning how to use a new database, I guess. But some people really, really love that one. So I would recommend looking into that for your system if you're going to try to focus on entrepreneurs in the nonprofit community, because it's really a great tool. It actually, if you really get down into it, it can almost perform some of the same functions as QuickBooks, believe it or not. So it does have a lot of potential. It's just whether patrons are willing to invest in that learning curve of using it. We use the Small Business Resource Center too for sample business plans, lists of associations. It has marketing plans, and it does carry some industry-specific journals. So that can be useful. And then I did want to also highlight, we have the Morningstar database at our library. I don't necessarily market that to entrepreneurs, but I do to the business community in general. And one thing we did right before COVID that was, I thought was pretty, worked pretty well. We created business cards that were actually little advertisements for this service for Morningstar, and we handed them out at a business networking event, and that upped our usage a lot, and I thought that was a pretty easy way to market it. So I just wanted to highlight that. All right, so where to promote? So I must say this is an area where I think smaller libraries and those in more rural settings might have an advantage. So Cecil County is a fairly rural community, so it was really easy for me to get to know key community leaders and members and to become really involved in the community. I attend the Chamber of Commerce luncheons. I try to be involved in Rotary. I try to really get out there and be involved in the community. But again, it's very difficult to do that right now. There are obvious limits to this. So perhaps this might be one of those things I was talking about where it's a goal for fall 2021, or, I hate to say it, but 2022. I hope not. I hope we can do this in the fall of 2021. But with that said, the first obvious place to promote, which you can do right now, is at the library, right? So whether you do this, take pictures, put it on your Facebook page to let patrons know that this type of thing is available. So we've created, even though we're closed, we've created fun book displays around starting your own business. And we have, in those displays, we advertise the Key Steps brochure that I told you about. So if I create any sort of display, I'm always trying to put information about making that virtual one-on-one appointment. I might put a flyer advertising a Gale course related to the business books that I have out, or putting an upcoming program flyer in there that relates to that. Audiobooks I found can be a really big hit with entrepreneurs, because they usually seem to be in a hurry, or they usually seem to be short on time. So if you can find an audiobook version, I think, or that they seem to appreciate that. Think of displaying Morningstar promotional material by the investment books. I mean, some of this is kind of common sense, but don't always think about it. And I will say one thing we did with our collection that I found really useful, and some of you may have more ability to do this than others, we moved all of our small business books into the 658s, and we found that really helpful. So what I mean by that is, it used to be if someone came in and wanted to start, let me think of an example, like a craft business. The craft business books would be located in the craft section, right? They wouldn't be in the 658s, the business books. So I tried to pull out all of those books from around the collection and put them in the 658s. So now we have this really excellent display of all the startup business books in one section. And that has proved really useful and helpful for us. So when I'm meeting with a client or they want to go look at the business books, I can take them over there, and I'm confident for the most part that that is our full collection of, books on starting a business. Book bundles have been popular. That's helped us check out some of our business books. So we did a social media bundle. We've done guerrilla marketing bundles. Around tax season, we do a tax prep bundle. We just kind of tie them with ribbon. And then I think people are more likely to check out 4 or 5 books versus 1 or 2 books. So that's kind of at the library. And now, in terms of getting out in the community, again, I acknowledge this is hard to do right now, but, at the chamber, we attend as many networking events as we can. We offer to speak. They're always looking for speakers, so usually they won't turn you down. If you offer to speak at a luncheon on library resources for small business owners, usually people are very receptive to that and amazed at the breadth of information we have that might assist their small business or help their small business succeed. We've hosted business card exchanges. We had a new library branch open, and we invited the business or the chamber in for a breakfast, a business card exchange before the library opened. And, they thought they were coming just for a networking event, but they got a whole lot more. We told them all about the resources that we can offer to the business community. And I really felt like they weren't necessarily regular library users, but they left with this much better understanding of what the library can offer to the business community. I've offered to speak at both Rotary and Lions Clubs events. I will say, you never know. A lot of times you're speaking to someone at a Lions Club event, for example, who knows someone who wants to start a business. Maybe it's not them, but they know someone. I get lots of times I get referrals, phone calls, sort of the day after or the next week after a presentation, where someone says, my aunt heard you and you told me that you could help me start a business, that kind of thing. So it's just really trying to be out in the community as much as you can. Again, going back to the idea that it's not necessarily intuitive for business owners to come to the library. An easy way to do this, if you're not a fan of public speaking or that sort of thing, is we created a video on one of our small business success stories that explained how the library helped that entrepreneur with launching their business. I think it's always better to have a patron tell your story than to have a librarian tell the story. So, this local small business owner, we interviewed them for this video, and they basically told the story of how they walked into the library, how we were able to help them through the process, and how they, now employ a certain number of people, and they're really, people recognize them in the community. So for them to share their story is much more powerful than for me to get up and share, oh, this is, as a librarian, this is what I do. So if that's something you can do, I would recommend it. And then you can play that video at various, places, and it becomes a really powerful resource and doesn't require you to give that talk every time. I wanted to highlight, we had an amazing opportunity to promote our business services this past fall. Again, this was during COVID, so that picture isn't that great because of social distancing and such. We couldn't really get a great picture, but we are building a new library branch that's going to house the BIC, and our local Rotary had their first ever golf tournament and decided to have all the proceeds benefit the BIC at the new branch. And I really believe this was largely due to the great relationships we had built with Rotary members over the years. and they were able to raise $20,000 for us for the business center at the new library. So you just really never know how investing your time in the community will pay off, I guess, is the point of that. So despite this picture not being really great, it was a really successful event, and we did that during COVID. If your community has any sort of leadership institute, our community every year does the Cecil County Leadership Institute. And we, had to go to them, but we said, hey, can your institute spend a couple hours of their time at our branch, and can we tell them what the library can offer them? So we had to kind of be proactive in this. But once they did it, this was probably almost 7 or 8 years ago, they've had us on their list of places that the institute will go every single year now. And when they come in, these are key stakeholders in the community. Many of them business owners, and we're sitting there telling them what the library can do for economic development, and we have found that really powerful and definitely something that is worth our time to do. I also present at the community college has an entrepreneurship class, and it's a 10-week series. So during that series, one evening I have come in and told the students about the resources available for them. In terms of the research they can do on our databases, the classes, the online classes, the one-on-one appointments, and that was. I mean, we've got many people that had never walked in the library becoming avid library users just from those community college classes that I spoke at. The Workforce Center, your local Workforce Center, they occasionally get questions from job seekers about starting their own business, so they know of our services and they have our brochure, and I make sure that they can refer people to the library. The business license office is a really great one too. They are more than happy. They probably will love you if you say, hey, when you have someone call with a business question, send them to me, because 9 times out of 10, they will be overjoyed to say, to have a resource to send people, because a lot of times people would call them and ask questions that they couldn't answer. So we get so many referrals from the business license office. And then just kind of letting the public schools know that you're around. I mean, this is kind of, this developed over time, but we now have been invited to speak at a homeroom class. We've done this a couple times, and we just speak to what entrepreneurship is, letting the kids know that this is a viable path forward if they're interested in starting their own business, what they need to be thinking about, what a business plan looks like, and kind of just doing some fun projects with them related to entrepreneurship. So that's just another one I wanted to throw in there. The Small Business Development Center, those are counselors. They're in every community, and they're funded through the Small Business Administration, the SBA. And so making sure you connect with them and share with them the resources your library can offer. Our SBDC counselor refers everyone she meets with to us, and we do the same. So that's just kind of a highlight of some of the places where you can promote. Obviously, digital promotion is more important now than ever. So we have an Instagram page, a Facebook group, and an email list. The Facebook group is somewhat new. We used to just post every now and then on the library's Facebook page, but we created a group of basically it's clients that we've met with, that sort of thing. And we share book suggestions, programs that are coming up. It's just much more specific information. And obviously if people are wanting to join, they want that information. So that's been really great. It's been a little bit of a slow process getting people to know about that since we're closed, but it's been definitely worth it. And then there's our Instagram page. I'll show you we have an email list too. We send out an email blast once or twice a month. During March, April, May of last year, we started sending out a 3 things to know during COVID newsletter. We felt like it was kind of overwhelming for the business community to know what was coming out from the federal government, the state government, the county. So we tried to highlight the 3 most important things they should be looking at every week. And I think our patrons really appreciated that. Here's just a look at some of our Instagram posts. Again, we're highlighting books. I mentioned highlighting classes. This was social media marketing for small business on Lynda. So it's really pulling out the class titles. I think people really understand better the capabilities of Linda if you do that. And then our Facebook group, we had a program last week. We marketed that program on the left there, you can see. And then this was a recent post we had from January about scheduling a virtual appointment, new year, new goals, that kind of thing. Okay, so targeting programming to the business community. So if I could only do 2 things to reach out to entrepreneurs due to constraints on staff and money, you know, the first thing I would do was to create that brochure I talked about, but this would be the second. It's easy. We all know how to do programming. So now we just need to target it to the business owners, the business community. And it's really easy to do for free. Most of the time, the presenters want that free press that comes with being seen as a leader or an expert on a certain topic. This picture was from our last in-person program. I think it was February of last year on how to start a nonprofit. I just want to give you some helpful things that I've found with business programming. Specific works better than general. So instead of just doing a general, I mean, I did do a general how to start a nonprofit here because I don't generally do a lot of nonprofit programming. But in terms of starting a business, you know, if you can get more specific with the title and people can see something tangible they're going to get from it, I think they're more likely to attend. So more specific is better. And what I mean by that is instead of just saying, you know, how do I start a business? You could say email marketing tools for a small business budget. So it's really specific, right? I'm going to teach you email marketing tools and it's going to be stuff that you can afford. It's cheap stuff. So like people are like, oh, I like that. I'm going to come to that. Instead of just sort of a, you know, general big picture program. Entrepreneurs want to know they're going to get something tangible. And I think answering the question, how do I start my business, works better as a one-on-one meeting because the answer can vary so widely based on industry. So during COVID, we tried to pick really timely topics and we did Zoom programs and some of them did better than others, I'll be honest with you. But we figured people are going to be wanting to get in touch with their customers virtually. So we really focused in on, we did an Instagram for business. That was a 2-part series. We did an email marketing using the AIDA model, which is attention, interest, desire, and action. So kind of teaching them how to get people to open their emails. We did one called Now Vision, bringing your business goals into focus. We thought people might be interested in getting ways to get additional money right now or additional funds for their business. So we did, in partnership with the Office of Economic Development, we did a how to make money from your land or small farm program. Again, we're more of a rural community, so that kind of fit us. And then we partnered with our local federal credit union to do a 3-part series on financial guidance during difficult times. So again, it's just trying to pick timely topics. And we didn't do them once a month. I think people started to get Zoom fatigue around the holidays, so we were kind of aware of that. But I just wanted to really stress that to be successful, I think with the business community, it's really important that your title of your program shares specifically what they're going to get out of the program. And I found presenters various ways, but a lot of it is through networking groups. If you have a local SCORE chapter, SCORE is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. They're basically retired people that are interested in helping out future entrepreneurs. If you just Google score.org, you can and type in your zip code, you can find a local SCORE counselor. They are happy to give presentations at your library. Insurance agents, I've invited one in to do a business insurance boot camp for us. Banks, I've used many banks to give various programs. I try not to use the same bank every time and kind of rotate. So I might have one bank do how to get a commercial loan, and then I might invite another bank to present on a different topic. So I realize not all of you may be able to leave the reference desk and attend a networking event, especially during COVID. And, so sometimes you can even look in-house. I just wanted to stress that. We've used our IT staff to give a presentation on computer security for small business. So we have looked in-house. I know someone who has a really successful Facebook group. So I had them present on, you know, how to create a Facebook group for your small business. So it's, you know, it doesn't necessarily require you to be networking and going out in the community to find presenters, but that does help. So I also wanted to highlight, this is a little bit different, but it's still a program that we do. It's called Startupcil. This is something I'm really excited about because it's such a cool, fun program. And it's a joint effort between our business librarians and our YA staff. It's a Shark Tank style teen business plan contest. So we do this over the summer, and it's about, it's over about a month and a half. And the students participate in 3 or 4 classes where they learn about starting a business, and they basically create a business plan and a pitch. And then they come one evening in front of a panel of judges, which includes a local circuit court judge, a local business person, and the director of the Office of Economic Development, and they pitch their idea. And the winner gets a couple $100 to invest in their business, and the top 3 finishers also all get tablets donated by the Economic Development Office. And that has been such a fun program, and it's gotten the library a lot of press, and it's just been a really great to kind of show these teens that this is a path they might look at in the future. A lot of them didn't even know what the word entrepreneurship meant when we started the course. So we usually have about 20 teens participate. And if you want to know more about this program, please email me. I would love to share it. We actually, unfortunately, didn't do it last year for obvious reasons. And I'm not sure what the plan is going to be for this year. But we will do it again at some point. And we've done it, I think, about 5 years now we've done it. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. But it's been a great, fun program for us and for the kids. All right, so then developing strategic partnerships within the business community is also really important. So I wanted to highlight, we're a part of the Cecil Business Resource Partners. And the Cecil, they call it CBRP, so I'll just say that for short. But basically, it's a group that meets every other month right now through Zoom, but they all work to help small businesses. The organizations that attend, their mission is to help small businesses succeed. So you have the Workforce Center, the Chamber, SCORE, the schools, the local college, the SBDC, and the Economic Development Office. And the library is a part of that. Now, I know not every community has something like CBRP, but I wanted to just highlight that organization because I think that it's, whether you have a group that formally meets or not, it's really important that as, if you're going to try to attract the business community to the library, that you go out into all these different organizations that I mentioned and make a point to sit down with them and explain what the library can do for entrepreneurs and why you deserve a seat at that table, and why they should refer people to the library who are interested in starting a business. And also, you never know when those relationships might kind of become more, and that's kind of what happened with the Rotary. You know, we had that, we had a great relationship with them. I presented for them before at their meetings, and they were really impressed and decided to do that golf tournament for us. So that was really great. And then, you know, another strategic partnership we've developed is with our federal credit union. And I mentioned this series of programming that we did with them on the right there. So that's something really easy. There's no cost, and it was really beneficial to our patrons to do that. So I just wanted to kind of close with these slides. These are just a couple of local business owners that we've worked with recently. Jason owns Granite Run Tap Room, and he was saying, you know, the demographic information provided by the BIC was exactly what we needed. Gigi, the BIC worked with me every step of the way, from getting my business registered to obtaining all of the necessary state and county licensures. And you can really see the positive impact this type of assistance can have for entrepreneurs, and on a broader scale, really for economic development in your county. But, you know, to be totally honest, helping entrepreneurs also helps the library. If you're finding it hard to make a compelling case to shift some of your library's time and focus to targeting entrepreneurs, consider this. We have used these quotes just like this, and invited these business owners to speak on behalf of the library to elected officials during budget season. And when these patrons, when Jason and Gigi can stand up and say how the library helped them create a business and that now employs people, that's really powerful stuff. And it's been a great advocacy tool for us. No matter what you do, some elected officials may not see some of the obvious benefits of libraries that we see and we know exist, but they may listen to tangible ways the library has positively impacted economic development. So I just think that you kind of have to look at the bigger picture when you're really looking into this and see, yes, we can definitely help entrepreneurs, and we're really, like I said, perfectly poised to do that, and we can do a really good job of it. But in turn, it can also help the library and can speak to maybe people that don't understand how the library is benefiting the community in other ways. So I just wanted to highlight that. And I think it's about 10:45, so I wanted to leave some time for questions. Here's my email address and my phone number. I'm not always at work right now. I'm in the building once a week, so obviously email is a little bit better. But I'd be happy to share any of these resources, talk more with you. And I'm just really, I'm here to help in any way I can. And again, I thank you for inviting me to speak.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was really, really fascinating. We do have a few questions. Remember that if you have more questions, please put them in the question box. But one question is, it seems like you have a lot of marketing and business skills yourself or knowledge. Can you talk a little bit about what resources you and your colleague have used to be prepared to answer those kinds of questions?
Sure. So I would say I have a couple of things. You said marketing and business. So I would say for marketing, so right now, Ellie, who works with me, she's the other business librarian I mentioned, and she has a great eye for marketing and creating flyers and things like that. But it used to just be me. And so I have to say right now, most of the amazing things that are created, she does. But when it was just me, I used, I don't know if you're familiar with Canva, but Canva can make really good marketing materials, especially for people that don't have that eye. So it's free too. So I would recommend looking into Canva for like that. The brochure that I showed you was created in Canva. Most of my slides today, most of what we create is from Canva. So that's kind of a cheat that I would say I use for marketing. It looks really professional if you don't have that eye. And in terms of how I learned how to answer the questions, or basically what resources I use. So when I first started in 2008, I literally spent a lot of time going out into the community. I would go to the business license office. I would go meet with the SCORE counselor, meet with the Small Business Development Center counselor, and kind of just get a feel for what this looks like for a business owner or someone who has this idea of how to start a business. And then I kind of use my librarian skills to go online and take a lot of webinars. It's not necessarily something I learned in library school, but I went to score.org and they have hundreds of webinars you can take. And that really helped. The Small Business Development Center, the SBA, I looked at their websites. And some of it was trial and error. Someone would ask me a question and I obviously wouldn't know the answer and I'd have to research it, just like any other reference question. But, the more entrepreneurs you meet with, the more you kind of realize that a lot of times they have this dream and they know about their product or service. Like, you don't have to help them with that. They know that. What they don't know is the behind the scenes stuff. So you just have to get really comfortable with being willing to call the business license office, call the Office of Economic Development, and ask them questions. And it really helps if you have a relationship that you've developed with them. I have a key contact at each of those places. So if somebody asks me, like, oh, is there any funding available to train my employees, for example, I probably don't know the answer to that, right? I couldn't just answer them, right? I can't be aware of all the funding opportunities that are available. But my contacts at the Economic Development Office, that's their job to know about that. So I can just call her and say, hey, I have a client who has this question. Can you help me? So I don't know if this is a very good answer, but I would say I just try to take a lot of webinars, and I also try to get a contact at these different organizations where I can easily just call and ask them. I don't know if that helps, but it's just a lot of being a librarian. I don't know.
Yep, that's wonderful. That's very helpful. I think it just helps to spell it out a little bit. So thank you for doing that. A couple questions about appointments. Do you offer appointments evenings or weekends too, or just during the day, or how do?
Yeah, so right now it's Monday through Friday. I would say like 9 to 5 basically is kind of what we're doing. I have offered nights before, but I didn't find that most people wanted nights. So we're pretty much the hours that Ellie or I are there, which is during the day, 9 to 5. But with that said, we try to be very flexible. So we have, and especially it's getting easier. One benefit of COVID is things like that have gotten easier. We have shifted our schedule. If somebody says, oh, I can only meet before work at 8 a.m. So I have come in early and met clients at 8 a.m. I've even met clients at coffee shops at 8 a.m. Before work. And, not before I work, but before they go to work. And I have, if one client can only meet in the evenings, it might be a matter of, okay, well, let's do this through email or over the phone or during your lunch break. We are flexible, but our Zoom appointments right now are between, just 9 to 5. And almost always that seems to work. But I mean, that's just what our community has responded to. So it could be different. Yeah.
Okay, and then related to that, do people like Gigi, for instance, she came to one appointment and then were there follow-up appointments that
Yes. So this is a relationship that is built over time, I would say, for sure. I mean, so we have many clients we meet with, we see one time and we never see them again. Whether they decide not to start the business, it's just not the right time, whatever, who knows. So many we just see once, but many we see, it might be years building up to their launch of their business that we've worked with them. So it's definitely not just once, and I should have highlighted that. I mean, it does vary. And honestly, I don't put this on a slide, but it's also a success if they've met with us, let's say a few times, and decide based on the research, like, I don't think I should invest money into this business right now. Like, this is not a good idea. The research is showing that this demographic isn't here. I think that's a success that I wouldn't put on a slide, but it's still a success. So that does happen too.
Excellent. That's so helpful. Thank you. We got a question about Mailchimp. Someone just who wasn't familiar with it. Do you mind giving just a little?
Yeah, so it's very similar to like a Constant Contact. I don't know if you've used that at all. It's just an email marketing service. It's free, and I should know this, but it's up to the first, I don't know, like 1,000 email addresses. That may not be correct, but it's a lot. It's free up to a certain number of email addresses, and it's a lot, like I said. So what it allows you to do is every time we meet with a client, we put their email address into Mailchimp, and then it allows you to create really nice, kind of pretty emails that you can send out. And what's really cool about it is you can see, it's also kind of creepy, but you can see who opened it, how many times they opened it, and get an idea of your open click rate. So it's really useful for kind of having metrics instead of just sort of sending out an email and not having any idea of whether people are opening it or not. So it allows you to track that. And then after you get past their free number, I think it's like $10 a month or something to use it. But we've found it very valuable for us. And I think, we've used it for other things in the library besides just business clients. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to put out a last call for questions, folks. Any other questions that are occurring to you? And while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to mention that the slides and recording will be available by tomorrow. So you can look for those if you want to share this with someone else or if you want to revisit them. And wanted to remind you that if you are looking for a little chance at a chance to be nice to yourself, Jamie Machek is doing stretching breaks at noon. She did one yesterday and she's doing one today. I attended yesterday and it was great. So I'll do a little testimonial for that. All you need is a chair and yourself, so you don't need any special equipment. And I'm looking to see if there's anything more. The next session in this track is with Helen Louise Mills and is about supporting people with mental illness. It begins at 10:30, so we hope to see you there or maybe at another session later in the day. And if not, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great rest of your day either way. And thank you so much, Laura. This was really interesting. I'm kind of excited about this. So thanks for lighting some fires here.
All right, and I'm happy to answer any questions via email too. So
that's great. Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a great rest of your conference.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.